We have a problem in this country. The problem that we have in this country is that we are allowing men to play in women's sports. Now, again, I think if you want to defy the laws of biology and, think that you're a man and you want to switch to a woman and you think you're a woman, but you're not, and you want to be a woman and you want to switch to a man, I don't see why you would. And you want to try and defy how biology works, go right ahead. I'm not transphobic. You might think I am by saying, oh, well, I think men are men, women are women, and I do. But I honestly believe that as I have a sister in sports, I have cousins in sports, I have female friends that are damn good at their jobs. I think we should let them keep doing their jobs and not coming and having men compete with them, because it's not the same thing. So Riley Gaines got popular when Will Thomas, or as they call her, Leah Thomas, who's actually a dude. I'm sorry, you can come at me if you want, Democrats, but it's true. Performed in the 1,000, I think 400th, 500th, or even 1,000th percentile when he competed against his fellow men. When he competed with men, guess how he performed? Poorly. He didn't even place third. He didn't even place 5th, 6th, 5th, or 6th. He was awful. So what does he do? He then, apparently, this is what happened. He underwent the changes to become a female. So Riley Gaines tied with supposed Leah Thomas, who's actually a male. Instead of saying, hey, let's give both of you the gold medal because obviously you both won. That's what would happen if two women tied, or they would do a rematch. Well, they decided to tell Riley Gaines, an actual woman, hey, by the way, because we want to look good in the photo op, we're going to give it to Leah Thomas, who's actually Will Thomas, by the way. And Leah/Will Thomas's teammates were forced to attend diversity meetings and how to not be transphobic meetings and all that kind of crap. And, we are allowing men to, A, undress themselves in front of women, but B, women are now being put in the crosshairs of men thinking that they're women. My mom could come home today and I could say, Mom, I'm a woman. And I can go into a woman's locker room today and say, I'm a female, so I get to be in here. Even though I still have my male genitalia, my male parts, I can identify as a woman. Imagine the twisted logic, right? So they gave Leah/Will Thomas the medal. They made her teammates, his teammates, go and go to those diversity training meetings, which were absolute bullcrap. And then Riley Gaines goes out and speaks up for all women, saying, hey, by the way, we have separate sports for a reason. Men and women have different skills. Let's keep it that way. And she's attacked by a left mob. If we're going to complain about a right mob, we got to call it how it is. Call it like it is. If you hold a person hostage, you are a mob, especially if you do it in a group. Mainly if you do it in a group. So anyway, the House held a hearing on Title IX. Title IX is basically what it boils down to is not allowing discrimination between genders on the issue of sex, on the basis of sex, in all things education and sports, mainly including in sports and gender equality. Now, there is no such thing as gender equality. I'm sorry, but there isn't. So they had a house hearing on Title IX, and I want to show you how it went with a left-leaning, a left freak, democratic liberal lawmaker who's a member of the squad that doesn't do jack shit for the American people, but they come and attack us who have different beliefs. Let's see how this went.
Although the title of this hearing implies a much-needed discussion, we're likely going to be forced to listen to transphobic bigotry. Forcing a transgender child to choose between living an authentic life and playing a game is cruel. I ask that while we sit through this hearing and hear the hateful misinformation I'm sure is going to come our way, let us not forget that children are at the core of this issue.
So, yes, children are at the core of this issue. What I don't want is my teenage sister to be in a locker room with her fellow female competitors in her sport, be it whatever it is, it doesn't matter. And all of a sudden, a teenage boy can identify as a female and his male genitalia is out and he's watching my sister and my cousin and my female friends undress. I do not approve of that. It's why in middle school and high school, we had our own locker rooms. And then we would meet in the middle. That's how it went. And the misinformation she's talking about is called reality. That's what it's called. Summers, you idiot. Trashy. Oh, no, now he's a racist because he's calling a black woman trashy. No. She's trashy because she's defying reality. Yes, we need to protect children in a game, and that's how we protect them, by keeping them in their own sport, their own division, their own section. Now, here's Riley Gaines laying it out for her.
There's a place for everyone to play sports in this country, but unsafe, unfair, and discriminatory practices towards women must stop. Inclusion cannot be prioritized over safety and fairness. And Ranking Member Lee, if my testimony makes me transphobic, then I believe your opening monologue makes you a misogynist.
Whoa! Damn! Now, misogyny is the hatred of women. Now, a lot of people take it out of context. Oh my God, he's misogynistic because he enforces gender roles. Oh my God, he's misogynistic because he has standards. Let's skip that for a bit. It's misogynistic to hate Riley Gaines and hate what she's saying. Oh, what a good point. And it's a woman saying it to a woman. Oh man, it's a woman saying it to another woman. I love it. And she's right. We can talk about inclusion, but it should not in the talk of sports. It should not be the priority over safety in sports. And it's so funny how they go after Republicans and me and everyone else for saying that we discriminate against women. Now, I'm not Republican at all. I think they're idiots too. Not the voters, but the party. You know, they come after us saying, oh my God, they're discriminating against women. Putin discriminates against women. And here we are telling women, now these guys are going to compete against you and you're going to take it and we're going to discriminate against you. Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. Now, Stuart Barney, he's the guy interviewing her, and me and Ima will have our friend made fun of him and his voice. Oh my God, the landscape. But let's go ahead.
Well, that was a fiery exchange. That was Riley Gaines going after squad member Summer Lee during a hearing on women's rights in sports. Riley Gaines joins us now. Riley, you called out the Illinois State Women's Cycling Championship because 2 transgender women took first and second place. What can you do about that?
Well, I'll tell you what I think needs to be done about that. I've been saying for a while now, and granted, I didn't always think this. At first, I didn't think women should boycott because I didn't think it's us who should have to compromise. I was waiting for the people in the position to make changes, to do the right thing, but that's a naive thought. But now I do believe women should boycott these events where men are competing, and I've been saying this for the past few months. But it's time it's incentivized. And so after some conversations with some different people, I've decided now that I will personally and happily pay the prize money that a woman were to lose out on. So in this photo here, the girl who placed third behind these 2 men, the prize money she lost out on, if she were to concede and doesn't compete, I will happily pay her the money.
Okay. Absolutely amazing that she would do that. And I think the girl who lost to 2 males, okay, 2 men should absolutely have, first off, number one, or however it would have been if she was to be second, then she was to be second. But I guarantee you she would have been first and the girls behind her second and third. But I would definitely pay her the money. But Riley Gaines shouldn't have to do this. Women should not have to compromise when, if you were to be on the left and you were to make the argument, women have had to compromise so much. Why are you making them compromise? Why should they now have to take a back seat to men? Isn't the feminist argument, the liberal democratic dumbass argument that women have always had to take a back seat and they're still taking a back seat to men today? And here they are allowing a woman to take a back seat to a male cyclist? Come on. Really? I believe they should boycott. I think all women in the national sports world should boycott their sport. I know you don't want to you don't want to do that. You don't want to lose your spots. You don't want to do that. I think all women should do it. Because although they don't bring as much of an audience or an income as the males do, they still bring an audience. They still bring an income. They still bring in sponsors, a ton of sponsors. In fact, even more than the males. Imagine if those sponsors have no one to sponsor. If there's no one filling the seats in the arenas and the stadiums and the gyms or wherever they compete because women are going, enough is enough. I bet you all these liberal hacks will go, oh, shoot. Now you guys got to go back to where you need to be.
Now, you want to have any woman being asked to compete against a transgender woman drop out, boycott, don't race, don't run. That what you're saying?
I think it's effective. I think that's how we send the message that enough is enough and that we as women aren't going to put up with it anymore. Because right now, what we're being asked to do and what we are doing, what I did at that national championships, is we smiled when we stepped aside and allowed these men onto our podiums. And it's not because we're okay with being discriminated against on the basis of our sex. It's because we're being told to. And as women, of course, we're more emotionally driven. We're more empathetic. We're more likely to be people pleasers. We don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. But guess what? It's not. It shouldn't be. It's not. It doesn't make you not compassionate to call out an injustice when you see it.
Exactly. If we're going to call out an injustice against Palestinians, which we absolutely should. I got to get to that. I know everyone's like, you haven't been doing it. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. If we're going to be calling out all these injustices against women, then why are we creating an injustice against women? Why are we asking women to be discriminated against? Why are we asking a woman to allow herself to take a backseat to a male? That's exactly right. Why is she being asked to allow a man to take over her podium when Riley Gaines put her damn heart and soul into this? When women all over this country are putting their hearts and souls into this, into their game, into swimming, into cycling, into track and field, into gymnastics, soccer, softball, whatever it is, boxing, MMA. Why are we asking them to take the back seat? You're holding a Title IX hearing which says don't discriminate against women on the basis of their sex, and now you're saying you should just discriminate, allow yourself to be discriminated on the basis of your sex. You see the hypocrisy here?
What do you think of this? The president of an LGBTQ advocacy group says that women should, quote, learn to lose gracefully to transgender competitors. Any response to that?
Well, it's funny because this president, it's the president of the National Women's Law Center who said that. So it's not even technically an LGBTQ advocacy center.
Women's Advocacy Law Center. Women's, not transgenders advocacy law center. Remember that.
It's a women's center who said that. Yeah. And let it be known that this women's center has not released a statement yet condemning any of the violence going on against the women in the Middle East, but that's besides the point.
What about the violence going on against women in the Middle East? What about the women being raped? What about the women being held hostage? What about the women being bombed by the United States? What about the women being bombed by Israel? What about the women and girls dying of starvation and chemical inhalation from the bombs dropped by Raytheon onto southern Yemen, into southern Yemen? What about that violence, huh? Why isn't the Women's Advocacy Law Center not coming out and saying, hey, we need to stop this? Why aren't the Democrats saying we need to stop all violence against all women? Because they don't actually care. Just saying. Just saying. Oh, and by the way, the Afghanistan thing, yeah.
Yep.
This woman who said that about losing gracefully. First, let me be clear. She was talking to me specifically. I didn't lose to Thomas.
That's right. She tied.
Man who competed against me at the national championship.
She tied.
Which is kind of embarrassing on his part that he couldn't beat me. We tied.
How are you a man and you still can't beat her? You still can't beat her.
So I certainly didn't lose. And secondly, this is coming from a woman who's probably never played a competitive sport in her entire life.
That's exactly right. We need to stop having men in women sports. It needs to stop. We should stop subjugating our women in this country, all women, to discrimination when we're being hypocrites and asking sports that get federal funding to not discriminate on the basis of sex and gender. Yeah, isn't that amazing? All the hypocrisy.